All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about music. I don't know if it's real music. I think it's real, just might not be my cup of tea, but doing it in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. A couple of classic rock websites are reporting that MC5 guitarist Wayne Kramer has passed away at the age of 75. It's interesting that these websites report on music that they don't play. Just putting it out there. I haven't heard ever, I have never heard, maybe back in the 60s or 70s, an FM radio station. I haven't heard anyone ever play MC5. It just, so you're reporting on something that you really didn't help as far as getting the music out there to the masses. Anyway, Wayne Kramer, the guitarist for the highly influential, okay, this is key. They're highly influential. They're from Detroit, Michigan. They're a proto-punk band. That's according to the description here. Wayne Kramer has died at age 75. The news was announced Friday in a post on Facebook. Oh boy, love Facebook. Wayne Kramer passed away today peacefully from pancreatic cancer. Well, see, there is a headline where they just say this is what he died from. All right. Lately, I've read a lot of headlines where it says cause unknown. I will say this, though. It seems in the last couple of years that cancer is going wild. And I think I've read some statistics that cancers are more aggressive than they used to be, which is weird because I thought we had better technology to deal with cancer these days. And people could do preventative things to keep themselves. Anybody can get cancer. That's the bottom line. Anybody can get it. Of course, 75 years old is 105 years in big pharmaceutical years. So, and plus he had, again, the rock and roll lifestyle. So 75 was really old. It says here that Wayne Kramer will be remembered for starting a revolution in music, culture, and kindness. All right. I just didn't know that much about Wayne Kramer, but apparently he started a revolution in music. So that's pretty cool. Kramer was a founding member of MC5, which formed in 1963. The band was known for their 1969 song, Kick Out the Jams, the impact of which can be heard throughout the last 50 years of rock music. Okay, that sounds a little presumptuous that one song can impact the last 50 years of rock music. Now, this goes along with the narrative that comes from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that MC5 was one of the most influential bands in history. Okay, and they're also remembered for performing during a Vietnam War protest during the 1968 Democratic National Convention. Okay, well, kudos to them for doing that because that was not a good war. And in hindsight, America has done a lot of this since Vietnam. But I've noticed that the people from Wayne Kramer's generation aren't as outspoken about war because the people in power, the people who they like, tend to go along with the old school way of dealing with things, and that is to participate in, and in some cases even start unnecessary war. But so long as they do all of these cultural issue things, it seems that this generation will sign on to the war machine. Now, speaking of machines, Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine writes this about Wayne Kramer. He says, "Brother Wayne Kramer was the greatest man I've ever known." Brother. I don't know if you've ever gone to a church where they'll refer to you as like brother Dave, sister so-and-so. That's very religious and very churchy like language. And it's interesting to hear Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine using this type of language. Again, sounds very churchy, and it goes on though. It gets even better. This is what he says about Kramer. He possessed a one-of-a-kind mixture of deep wisdom and profound compassion, beautiful empathy, and tenacious conviction. Kind of sounds like Jesus a little bit here, doesn't it? I mean, really, the brother Wayne, and then he had a one-of-a-kind mixture, one of a kind, deep wisdom, profound compassion. Yep, sounds like Jesus. Beautiful empathy. Yep, Jesus again. Tenacious conviction. Yeah, 100% Jesus right there. His band, the MC5, basically invented punk rock music and was the only band to not chicken out and performed for the rioting protesters. And he brings up the rioting protesters. So everybody loves the fact that this band performed for the rioting protesters. Maybe the other bands didn't want to get killed or hurt. You know, maybe they just decided, hey, this isn't worth it. You know, we can write songs and convince people that way that the war is a bad idea. And many of those people who most likely chickened out, those people who were truly peacemakers, you know how I know they were peacemakers? They didn't want to get involved with violence. So you could call them chicken, or you can call them pacifists, whatever you want to call them, but it wasn't a dumb idea not to attend. MC5 officially broke up in 1972. So they were a band starting in 1963. They lasted for 9 years. Kramer then fell into drug addiction and spent time in prison. So this was after his rock and roll career. He fell into drug addiction and then spent time in prison. Now, they don't say why he went to prison. Was it possession of the drugs? I'm not sure. Anyway, he detailed his life, if you want to go and read this, in his 2018 memoir called The Hard Stuff, and he became a voice for recovery, which is good, and prison reform in the rock community. I wonder what kind of prison reform he was advocating. Kramer played in an MC5 reunion show in 1992 and reformed the band again in 2003. In 2018, Kramer spearheaded a tour celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Kick Out the Jams album. All right. And in December of 2023, just a few months ago, all right, he did an interview with Mojo. Kramer revealed that he was working on a new MC5 album with special guests, including Tom Morello and Slash from Guns N' Roses. Well, wait a minute. So he was going to work on an album, or was working on an album in December, and in February, he's no longer here. I don't know. Would you make plans like that if you knew that you didn't have a lot of time left and you couldn't complete the album? Or would you make those plans because maybe things were going okay and you didn't foresee a problem? I don't know. That has been a common thing lately where, you know, hey, I saw so-and-so on Saturday and they were fine. Now, again, cancer is typically a struggle, and sometimes it's a private struggle. Sometimes it's a struggle for a long time. And lately, it seems like it hasn't been a long time struggle. It's been a much shorter duration struggle. And that's kind of odd because I thought we were making strides against cancer. I hear this on TV all the time, how we're making progress, how our treatments are better. You turn on commercials for like St. Jude's Hospital and these little kids that are diagnosed with cancers that are just heartbreaking. They're talking a lot about, hey, if you donate, things will be better, and we're making progress, and this is why you should give money. Anyway, he was 75 years old, and most people will say, well, 75. Male life expectancy now, I think, is around 77. It has dropped a little bit. It used to be 78. And my guess is it's probably going to drop some more. So that's really bad news. As far as Wayne Kramer's influence, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame loves this guy. My guess is he will be inducted into the Hall of Fame at some point posthumously. The only thing that might hold this up is the fact that MC5 did a little bit of cultural appropriation from Detroit. They are a punk band from Detroit, and that's not the kind of music that is typically from Detroit. And I've noticed that MC5, they don't really look like other bands from Detroit, Michigan during that era in some cases. But when you think of Detroit, right, you think of Motown, you think of R&B and soul music. But my guess is all this other stuff will basically cancel out any of those other politically correct considerations. And MC5 at some point will be put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whereas Ted Nugent, who is from Detroit, he won't be in the Hall of Fame. And there are others. Steppenwolf, I know they're, was it Canadian band, Steppenwolf, I'm pretty sure. They won't be in the Hall of Fame, even though I think they influenced an entire genre. I mean, Steppenwolf and Deep Purple, there were just a few bands that were doing that kind of thing, and they're not in the Hall of Fame. When you think of other bands with lots of influence and a hard rock sound and a ton of influence, you think of like Blue Oyster Cult too. It's another band that hasn't even been thought of. They haven't even been nominated to the Hall of Fame. Again, they're the wrong demographic. I'm using the word demographic kind of liberally here, but I think people know where I'm going with this. So in any event, the rock and roll lifestyle, drugs and alcohol and maybe just the wrong kind of message to send that a certain lifestyle, which then you have to recover from, and then you're applauded for recovering for it, which is excellent. You know, that's the story. That's like the prodigal story. That's a good story. But the story that's often ignored is the person who decides to go the narrow path and they stay on the path. I mean, that should be applauded too. A lifestyle of kindness from start to finish. I don't know, this kind of music in some ways, and I'm not just talking about all rock music. I mean, there is a big difference between MC5 and Air Supply. Okay. It's just, I mean, ABBA, bands with starting with the letter A, right? Air Supply, ABBA, America. But then you got Aerosmith. You know, there are certain bands that, you know, just make people happy. You listen to it and you feel good about yourself. You feel good about life. I don't know. I think there are different degrees of what music can do for and to a person, and to ignore the sort of the sensory effect of certain types of music on your mind, on your soul, and how you just feel at a given moment. I think if you ignore that, you're a science denier. All right. I think I can say that safely. So anyway, folks, I just figured I'd throw the science denier in there. I'll say this, my thoughts and prayers go out to this gentleman and his family. And obviously you need to point people to the way, the truth, the light, Jesus Christ. He's the only hope that we all have. To hear someone described like their Jesus Christ, and, you know, I don't know if it's blasphemy, because if the person doesn't know what they're doing or what they are saying, you know, Jesus has compassion, just like this guy had tons of compassion. God has compassion on people who don't know what they're doing and don't know what they're saying. I mean, that's what Jesus said. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. So, all right, getting off my preachy soapbox here. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And also Patreon. I've lost a bunch of patrons because we're into a new month and people get the credit card charge or whatever, their PayPal, whatever it is. And they're like, oh, crap, I'm still subscribed to this. I got to get rid of this guy. So I need some folks to come back and help me get back to where I was prior to the first of the month, because the algorithm, they didn't like the video I did last night about Britney Spears, and they're not going to like this video either. So I need your help to keep this going. Thanks, and God bless. Talk to you soon.